Have you ever had fantasies of saving a dying tribe? Of protecting them from an encroaching civilization? Well, an opportunity has come up to turn that fantasy into reality. For those of you who care enough to join us.
Hello and welcome to the second episode of our podcast, Two Guys, One Necronomicon. And today we will be talking about The Green Inferno.
And we're your hosts. I'm Bryan, Hotboy, LaGrasta, and as always, here's Shane. If it's Tickin, I'm Hittin Smith.
What? Wait. Guys, I don't know what he's talking about, but anyway.
Shane, I'm super excited for this episode. I'm literally about to jump out of my seat. I have to poop. We are doing The Green Inferno, like you mentioned.
Yes, which is a movie directed by Eli Roth. It was made back in 2015, I believe it released. 2013, but it released in 2015, I think. I believe it was in limbo a while, coming to theaters, stuff like that. But anyway, it is, in my opinion, probably one of Eli Roth's better movies.
Yeah. I mean, he's a household name that really has not made many good films.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Like, as a kid, I liked Cabin Fever.
That's his best movie.
Oh, no, I like Hostel 1.
Better than Cabin Fever?
I think the first Hostel is better than Cabin Fever.
Okay, well, anything is better than Human Centipede 3, which is the last movie me and Shane watched.
Yes. Not directed by Eli Roth, just needed to bring it up. That was a train wreck.
I actually can't get it out of my head.
I know. There's certain scenes in that movie that are so bad.
It was, I guess the best way to describe it was so wet.
Yeah.
And visceral.
It's definitely a wet movie.
There's so many tongue lashings.
That guy's tongue is insane. The guy who plays the
you're saying
warden,
you're saying guard, I'm saying reptile.
He does have turtle face. But
Good Lord, that was something.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good movie. Just kidding, it sucked.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Eli Roth, Green Inferno. You have some facts you said you wanted to bring up about this movie.
Yes.
Before we actually talk about the plot.
If nobody knows anything about The Green Inferno, this is actually a movie that was inspired by several 1980s, Italian found footage cannibal horror movies.
Yes,
I'd say.
Yeah.
One, the primary of them being Cannibal Holocaust, made in 1980.
Yes.
And if nobody knows anything about Cannibal Holocaust, this movie is iconic because not only was it the start of this kind of genre, this like subgenre, I guess, but they actually have on-screen deaths of animals.
Yeah, about 5 or 6 animals are killed on screen. A turtle, a muskrat, a snake. It's a brutal movie. If you're an animal lover, do not watch that movie.
Yes.
Because the scenes are all real and they're all very graphic.
Yeah, and it's largely recognized as one of the most disturbing films ever made. Actually, upon its release, the film was immediately seized by Italian courts, and the director of the movie, Ruggero Deodato,
yes,
he was arrested and charged with obscenity, as well as murder.
Oh, yes. I remember reading about this. They actually believed he killed one of the actresses, right? Was that it? And she had to appear in court to prove that she was indeed alive?
Yeah, so one of the scenes had her depicted, I think, on a pike.
Yes.
The pike was like going through her body,
up through her mouth. Yeah.
And like they're like watching it, they thought she was dead.
Yeah.
But in retrospect, I think she was like sitting on a bicycle or something.
Yeah, there was something to it. Regardless, she wasn't dead. Nothing happened. Another interesting fact about the Cannibal Holocaust movie is one of the working titles for it was The Green Inferno, which is what inspired Eli Roth to name his movie The Green Inferno.
Yeah, and there's actually, I think it came in like the late 80s, but there was a movie actually titled The Green Inferno.
Really?
Yeah, but it had nothing to do with our Green Inferno.
Okay.
And it was like supposed to be a spiritual successor to Cannibal Holocaust, but apparently it sucked. Nobody liked it.
Well, Cannibal Holocaust sucked too.
Yeah, I mean, like, I respect it, but it's, I don't like the animal.
Yeah, no, I mean,
unnecessary animal deaths.
Well, I can't say, like, a lot of people, it's one of Eli Roth's favorite movies. It's why he wanted to do The Green Inferno, but it wasn't for me.
It feels very real when you're watching it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's because the movie's kind of grainy, because it's found footage, but I guess it's the atmosphere, the tone of the movie, the conflicts they have with the neighboring tribe.
Yeah.
It feels very real.
Yeah, it does.
And it hurts. It hurts your soul.
Yeah,
when you
it's
watch
definitely a tough sit to get through all of Cannibal Holocaust. And Cannibal Ferox, which is the sequel to that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're both tough movies to sit through. But I guess we should get into the movie we're actually reviewing.
Yeah. So on this podcast, we plan on doing, summary, synopsis with spoilers, and then at the end of it, our review.
Yes.
A rating system of 1 to 10. This is from our IMDb history.
Yes.
Of what we rated the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, with 5 being that kind of average point.
Yes.
Our barometers, a 10 being like an amazing film that very few and far between have been able to reach.
Yeah.
A pinnacle of master cinema.
Yes.
A 1 being...
Super Baby Geniuses 2.
Yes. Son of the Mask kind of...
movies, yeah.
That level of just hard to watch. I guess Human Centipede 3. Hard to watch.
Yes.
Hard to battle through. At times, you want to shut it off and run away, but you gotta get through it.
Yes. We've gotten through some bad ones.
Yeah.
Spoiler, Green Inferno is not a bad one.
No. In fact, there's cringy moments in this movie.
Yes.
For sure.
It's not a great movie by any standards, but it's an enjoyable watch, I would say.
This is a movie you'd watch it and you'd be like, wow, this movie really has got no value. I found so much value in this movie.
Yeah, it's not like this great movie with tremendous acting, but it's entertaining. It's got good effects. I mean, the gore scenes are very good, well done.
And it's beautiful. So the movie takes place like in the Amazon. It is gorgeous. It's so lush, so green.
Yes.
And the water is so brown, like shit brown.
Yes, it is.
It's just really master cinematography.
Mm-hmm.
And it's absolutely gorgeous. I want to be there. Of course, after people start dying and getting eaten, I do not want to go.
The cinematography very well done. There is one aspect of the movie I didn't like, and it was the CGI ants that we're going to talk about later.
Yeah.
That whole scene sucked, and the CGI was terrible. It just looked bad.
That's a pointless scene.
Yeah.
We will get into that.
Yes, we will.
First things first, what this movie is about. So, student activists travel to the Peruvian Amazon jungle to protect a native tribe from a company who plans on leveling the rainforest and natives alike. The group realizes the jungle's inhabitants are not friendly.
Yes. Our main character is a girl named Justine, who is not part of this group to begin the movie.
Shane, just admit it, you love her.
Well, that has nothing to do with anything. But yes, I do have a crush on her.
So, Justine's played by Lorenza Izzo, who, not at the time, but I believe a year after this movie was filmed, got married to Eli Roth.
Yes. I believe a year after the movie was filmed, they got married. They are currently divorced now. They got divorced in 2019, I believe.
And you just hate to see that.
Gives me a chance.
Oh.
Just kidding. But, so, she is not in this group. The activist group is called ACT, obviously. ACT. And she is approached at a point to join the group by a character you'll learn. His name is Jonah. There's really not much to him other than that he recruits her to the group.
Yeah, so there's a scene where while she's getting recruited by Jonah, she's with her friend Casey, and Casey's just basically just trashing these student activists.
Yes.
She thinks it's all BS. She questions their self-righteousness and a bunch of things like that. And so there's a funny interaction in front of a restaurant where Jonah's telling her she's to join the group. Mm-hmm. She's like, I'll think about it. I will see. Because she's like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. She wants to do something important with her life.
Yes.
But then he's like, don't think. Act. And it's like so serious out of nowhere.
Yeah. That's where it's like the acting isn't that great, but like I said, it's still an enjoyable movie. But yeah, you learn about Justine. She doesn't really care about what they're going to protest, like the Amazon. Her whole thing is because eventually Alejandro asks her, "What do you care about?" And her answer is female circumcision in Africa and that whole thing.
Yeah, so there's a big scene in a classroom where she's getting a lecture on female genital mutilation.
Yes.
That would affect, I don't know the number, like 2 million people worldwide. And they go into exactly what it is, how women are cut, how this is mainly, I guess, a practice in African tribes, but it also could be, South American, pretty much all of these uncivilized native, tribes.
Yeah.
So she immediately takes an interest to stopping this, so much so that she's ready to call her dad, who works for the United Nations, like, we gotta stop this. And, and the professor's like, well, hold your horses. It's going to be a little bit more difficult than that.
Yeah.
And her father kind of says the same. There's procedures and things like that. But she found her cause in life. Apparently, her mother gave her this necklace, and the necklace has a flute on it. Her mother, I guess, has passed.
I would assume so, because that's how they make it seem. That, like, the necklace is her, like, one keepsake of her mom, I would assume.
Yeah.
They really don't go into much detail about that. But, that's... You learn about the flute during the dinner scene with her dad and her friend, who is just sitting there.
Yeah. It's funny. So, she's making it her purpose to find something.
Yeah.
It's thinly laid in the movie, but you can draw a conclusion that she's not satisfied with being a flautist.
Yes.
And
well, she even specifically, like, her dad's like, why don't you play anymore, or, like, do that? And she's like, I still play, just not for, like, people.
She's like, nah, bro, I'd rather protest.
Yeah, well, I think by the end of this movie, she's going to wish she kept playing the flute. So, after this, she decides to go to the meeting, right? It's right after the dinner. She goes to second dinner, where they're having the activist meeting.
Yeah.
And Alejandro is giving his rah-rah speech about what they want to do, how to protest bulldozers in South America.
Yeah, so the whole idea, and you see it in the very, very first shot of the film, you see a couple of tribespeople and bulldozers just already wrecking the landscape. So you're like, okay, I see where this movie's going to go right off the bat. We kind of get the gist. We know the whole save the rainforest, tie yourself to a tree.
Yep.
So Alejandro's idea is, okay, let's go over there unarmed, but armed with cell phones.
Okay, so I hate to cut you off, but I hate his plan.
His plan sucks.
All right, because we learn more about his motives later, but his plan is to chain himself to trees in South America in front of the bulldozers, which have an armed militia. And his theory is that this militia, that isn't like they're just being paid to guard bulldozers, will not shoot them because they have cell phones.
Yeah, so their primary weapon of choice against armed weapons, automatic rifles, is a cell phone.
Well, he thinks automatically a person will not shoot you if you have a cell phone. But don't the militia have, like, the masks on anyway?
Yeah.
So they're not, like...
No, yeah.
Who they are will never be known if they shoot them.
Correct.
It's the worst plan of all time.
Very misguided effort. But nevertheless, this is their plan. To go in there, tie themselves to trees, and prevent the bulldozing of the rainforest. And we found out that if they're going to level the rainforest, they're also going to kill the natives there, too.
Yes.
They apparently would just gun them down.
Which probably would have been for the better.
Yes.
As mean as that is to say, I mean, the natives were just trying to protect their land, I guess you could say, which is why they eat people.
Yeah, they're territorial. I mean, their reasons, I guess, could be up for debate, and I would say they're definitely up for debate, actually.
Yes.
But yeah, they're located in, I guess, a rather untraversed area of the jungle. It's the Peruvian Amazon. It's kind of just like a murky brown water that rides through it, and these construction workers who are trying to harvest gas under their land, they just, I guess, bulldoze the rainforest nearby. That's the only people that they'll come and encounter with over there.
Yes.
And from what I gathered this movie, it happens more often than not.
Yeah.
But they're the only people that they would be, I guess, in contact with. That's considered modern.
I guess. I mean, that's just how it's laid out, it looks like.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go back to that meeting first. So when Justine goes to the ACT meeting, and after Alejandro gives his speech...
Don't think back, Shane.
Justine says one sentence, and Alejandro's like, leave.
He's like, get the hell out of here.
He's like, you're a freshman, aren't you? Get out of here, despite her looking like she's 26.
Everybody in this movie looks like they're 40.
All right, there's a guy in this movie, I think his name is Daniel, who is, like, balding with a thick beard. He has to be 43.
So old.
And they're all supposed to be college students, right? Yeah. Or at least, like, summer seniors, or even if you're doing your graduate, that guy legit is, like, 50.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Everybody looks much older. and we're supposed to believe that they're. Well, I guess Alejandro's a senior, but
I mean, maybe he's a teacher's assistant and he's like supposed to be 29 or something, but like I don't know.
It could be, yeah.
But like, if Lorenza Izzo is supposed to be a freshman in college, she doesn't look like a freshman in college. No. But yeah, so anyway, after he tells her to leave, eventually they talk again.
Yeah, they catch up on campus.
Yeah, and then he's like, that's when he gives her the whole like, "What do you stand for?" speech.
She's like, "Let me in, brah."
Yeah,
and she's like, "Well, what are you interested in?"
That's exactly how it goes. And she tells him the African thing, and then he brings up the South American rainforest. They have nothing to do with each other, so she signs up and goes with him to South America with the whole ACT group. And
they're on their way to Peru.
Yes.
Or Chile. Or Peru. It's Peru, right?
It's Peru. It's definitely Peru. That's when we get there. We find out that a guy named Carlos is going to be their way in. This mysterious Carlos character, he's funding it. He has contacts to get us to the bulldozers. He has a plane.
There's a reference that he's a drug dealer.
Yes. Oh, yes, because another character named Lars, who is the actor, he's the kid from Spy Kids.
Yeah.
So, the kid from Spy Kids is now in the Green Inferno. Carlos gets some weed, which comes into play later in this movie.
It does. That's the main thing he needed, I guess, on this trip, was to get some weed, because the plan was so bad.
Well, you gotta think, though. You introduce weed in Act 1, you're using it for something special by Act 3, because that weed, the natives get a little taste of that later.
Of course. So I'm happy they at least drew something back. And circled back on one part of the plot.
Yes. Lars also has another very good scene that's coming up shortly that we'll get into.
Yeah, so he asks Carlos for weed. They're in Peru, and they're hanging out. They're going out to dinner. They're enjoying themselves. How every tourist movie goes until everyone gets murdered and left to die.
Yeah.
So they take a boat ride, and on this boat ride, this is, I guess, when they're going to protest.
Yes.
And you see Alejandro, this guy is just oozing loser. Like, he's stoically...
Oh, yeah, when he's got, like, the pirate pose on the front of the boat.
He's got, like, this, like, buccaneer pose at the front of the rowboat. It's like a freaking canoe, dude. Yeah. He's, like, stoically looking out. He just troops from Normandy.
He's like George Washington in that painting, who's just, like, at the front of the boat like this, like...
Yeah, so he's, like, leading the trip, and I'm like, oh my, no.
But this whole boat thing is one of my favorite scenes.
This guy's such a loser.
Because this is where Lars is like, hey, do we stop at, like, a Pueblo or something to go to the bathroom?
Yeah.
And so they pull over on the side of the Amazon, and... they're like, go in the forest. The boat guy gives Lars a machete. And he's like, what am I supposed to do with this? And he's like, in case of snakes. And he's like, I don't know if I want to take that. So then Justine just grabs the machete and leaves. He's like, all right, well, do you have a second machete? So the boat gives him a gun.
Yeah.
So another random gun shows up in back-to-back movies for us now.
That made me chuckle a little bit because, like, it's a gun. What's he going to do with a gun?
But that's the thing. This is why I love this scene. Because then you get to see half of Lars's penis as he's peeing.
Oh my god. Yeah, I'm like, dude, did we really see this guy's dick?
Yeah, no, but it's great though, because then the spider starts crawling towards his dick.
It's fucking spy dick.
I called it spider penis, but so then they cut back to the boat and you just hear gunshots. And I'm like, this guy shot his dick off. I'm like, that's what's happening right now. He comes back though and didn't, but...
I like how he goes to the bathroom and he automatically assumes he can just go right next to Justine. Like, dude, you have the whole forest. Go somewhere else.
I forgot about that.
Not Justine.
Heck, you can't blame him, no. I'm kidding.
Just go to the bathroom.
No. Well, honestly, why didn't any of them go to the bathroom before they went on this boat? Like, they're going on a boat.
There'd be a nearby Pueblo.
You're going deep into the Amazon. There's only cannibal tribes.
And dirt snacks.
Yes, there are that too. So, they then dock.
Yeah, and the rocky shore.
They put all their bags down.
Yeah.
They change into the bulldozer
construction gear.
Yeah.
So like hard hat.
Yep.
Yellow.
The neon yellow.
Yep. Kind of looking thing.
So they have that on, and all their bags, all their stuff. The only thing they take with them is their passports. I believe in case they get arrested, they say they keep the passports. They go through the jungle. That's when they start grabbing the chains and the locks.
Yeah, Alejandro gives them a little pump up speech.
Yes.
That this effort is not about the individual. Mm-hmm. It's about the group.
Exactly.
No matter what, we need to get our message out there. If we get shot, our cameras are still rolling.
Yes.
So immediately they spring into action. They see the militia, they see the construction workers, and they just start tying themselves to trees, locking themselves in because they have like these master locks.
Yes. I think the idea of locking themselves to the tree is so the militia won't pull them off and just take them away. So they're like forcibly on the tree.
Yes.
Which is why Justine gets a faulty lock.
She gets a faulty lock.
Now, Alejandro has a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Cara.
Her name is Kara.
Kara.
She's a part of the activist group.
She wasn't important enough for us to mention earlier than
this. If we're going to mention her, there's a scene where I guess she thinks that Justine is interested in Alejandro, which maybe.
She is.
Maybe. So she, like, in the very beginning of the movie, she kisses Alejandro and then looks back at Justine. And we have no prior history that they've ever had a connection. So how would Kara even know that they're involved?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Have any kind of, spark. There's nothing there.
But anyway, so the lock that Kara gives to Justine doesn't lock. No. And so when the militia comes and they're all filming them, they grab Justine, throw her on the ground, and point a gun to her head.
At this point in time, big boy Alejandro decides to make a little speech while the cameras are rolling. And the speech is like, her dad's a part of the UN. If you do anything to her, basically your lives are ruined.
Yes. And then Kara yells, "Shoot her. We'll have it on film."
Yeah, see what happens. Now, this is my biggest thing with this. And it doesn't happen. They break one camera. Wouldn't the militia just break every camera?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's why this scene makes no sense.
They would break... Alejandro does say he's live streaming it, though. I believe he said it's uploading straight to, like, Twitter or something.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be the source be from the camera?
Oh, yeah, true.
So you just smash the camera and there's no feed.
And then it would just be whoever was watching this independent college campus's... proactivist group's feed would be the only people to see it, which would probably be about 4 people, to be honest. It's a bad plan.
It makes no sense.
It's easily the dumbest part of this movie is their motives. Like, well, you'll learn Alejandro has ulterior motives.
They
shortly.
Always do.
Yeah. Well, Alejandro, I haven't mentioned this yet, is probably one of the worst characters ever, and I don't mean like just worst written. I mean, I've never seen such a tool bag.
Yeah, he's a loser. It sounds like guy's such not only a jerk, but
he's horrible.
He's a weasel.
Yes.
He's like a rat.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, you find out he purposely gave Justine a faulty lock to use her
correct
as bait since her dad's the UN guy.
We'll get to the climax of the movie later on, but like as Shane mentioned, the idea is that Kara doesn't like her.
Yeah.
Alejandro wants to make a big splash.
Yep.
So they gave her a faulty lock.
Yep. It's all about the views.
It's all about the views. They probably, if she died, it would probably even been a bigger turnout for them.
Oh yeah,
media
for sure.
attention wise.
Yeah, they probably wanted her to get shot.
That's
in
a
all
headline.
honesty,
That's an international headline.
You got to grab the headlines.
Yeah.
After that, the police come in, or the Peruvian army or whatever it is. They escort them out of the jungle, and they're going to bring them back to the plane to fly back. But before that, their bags are gone.
Yeah,
so all their gear is
they're missing their bags. One of the characters, I think her name is Amy, is missing her pills.
Yes.
She starts freaking out. She's missing her pills.
Yes, which she has. I believe it's like anxiety or something like that. Yeah. At least that's what it's hinted at. I don't remember if they say specifically what she has.
Yeah, so she starts freaking out, and they're ready to fly back.
Yes. So all your main characters now are pretty much on this plane. You got Justine, Alejandro, Kara. You have Carlos. Then you have the other few characters we mentioned: Lars, Jonah. Then, you said, Amy.
There's a Samantha where they're kind of dating.
And then a guy I mentioned earlier with Ants, Daniel. They're all going to be the important characters.
Yeah, Jonah and Daniel are kind of like the nice characters.
Yes.
Amy's kind of freaking out. She's the one that was on the drugs. And Samantha's, I guess, her girlfriend.
Yes. They don't really explicitly say that, but that's
the big detail with her is she's literally covered in tattoos.
Yes. Yeah, for the most part, no interesting characters other than Justine. Lars is funny. He has his moments. Alejandro's a dick, so he's pretty notable.
So on this trip back, it's visually seen, definitely on the expression of Justine's face, how displeased she was with how the protest went down.
Oh yeah,
the whole plane is up. They're cheering, except for her. They believe they got their point across. The media attention's already coming.
Well, Alejandro specifically says, "We're trending on Twitter," and then they all celebrate and. they all get into it.
So they read some like global headlines about how a complaint was filed against the Peruvian authorities to stop their illegal exploitation of an Amazon region protected by a treaty. I forgot the name of the treaty.
Yeah. So apparently the bulldozers aren't going to be going anymore. Apparently this school's protest has stopped the bulldozers or something like that, which, all right, I'm still sticking to that. I'm like, they're just a small-time school activist group. They could protest, yeah, but they're not going to get that much done in one little thing. I mean, I'm sure the militia's like, all right, let's just pick it back up tomorrow. I don't think the Peruvian government's going to listen to them. But apparently they did.
So yeah, they got their point across. They're celebrating, and then Alejandro goes over to Justine, kind of like, it's a time for victory. Let's celebrate. And she's like, no. She's like, no. She's like, I can't celebrate this. She's like, you're the biggest risk of this trip. Not even the bulldozers.
Yeah, which he was and will continue to be for the most part. And then it's around this time, the engine on the plane blows,
and the plane doesn't even go down. It just starts a little dipping down, descending, but it starts flipping.
Yeah, it spins around. The tail flies off. All right, so this is another thing. Like, this scene is awesome, and like, there's so much happening. But there's two things that happen specifically that I don't understand. A girl her seat flies out of the back of the plane.
Yeah, she gets just chucked out the backside of the plane.
That part makes sense. That would happen. The part that doesn't make sense is the plane keeps going and then crashes, but she's in a tree right next to the plane crash.
Yeah,
they would be at least a mile apart from when she flew out to when the plane actually crashes.
Yeah, and the plane, they're actually hitting trees because the trees are knocking off parts of the plane, too.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So it's like, she would not be next to them when they land, but she is. Yeah. Same with Carlos. Carlos falls out of the back of the plane pretty early on, but yet he's right there at the crash with them.
This movie is littered with goofs.
Yeah, like, they should just be established dead, that we don't need to see the body. Not that, like, they flew off 5 minutes before the plane crashes and then they're right there. Yeah. But then there's a cool scene when they do finally crash. A tree comes through the windshield of the plane, completely decapitates the pilot.
It pikes him right in the middle of the face.
Wild scene.
And yeah, that was a cool death scene.
So then they get out of the plane. They're disoriented. Not as disoriented as you'd think they would be after a huge plane crash, but that's when they start looking around and they see the girl up top.
I think he's like starts saying a name. He's looking for the girl. I'm guessing it's the girl on the.
Yeah,
he looks for her. He just starts getting up and just walks right into the propeller.
Oh, I forgot about that. That guy even have a name in this movie?
He had no name.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, so this nameless guy who's just with them. He's looking for the girl that's up in the tree that flew out of the back and walks face first into a propeller that's clearly spinning.
This guy needs a prequel, first of all. We never knew anything about this guy's life.
Yeah.
This is the guy that needs a prequel, and I'll tell you why. Because this is how I would die. Like, I would be like I would be focused on something, like doing something, without even like looking what's in front of me, and I would like run into the propeller and die.
Yeah.
This would be the end of my life.
Yeah, okay. All right, we could go with that.
This is a justifiable death for Eli Roth.
Yes, all right. Well, it makes more sense than the girl actually being above them in the tree. So they're all disoriented, looking around.
I think that at this point, they mentioned that they hear a river flowing.
Yes. Also, one small thing. You see on the ground, Carlos has been impaled by a tree through the gut, and he is also dead on the ground. Just to clarify.
The sponsor.
He is, yes. Carlos, who sponsored the whole trip, is gone. And yes, they say they hear a river.
Yeah, and then I think it's called the Nanai River. They're looking for it, and they hear it. So they're like, all right, let's follow it upstream. Mm-hmm. And we'll get back to where the bulldozers were.
Yes. But that's when the natives show up.
Yeah, so Kara hears something. This is Alejandro's girlfriend. She's like looking through the jungle, and she says that, she's like, I hear something. She sees natives.
Yes. And then takes an arrow to the neck.
One by one, the group just starts getting pinned down by darts. So
my one question is...
And it's a good question, so I know what you're going to ask. And I was watching this movie with my brother the other day, and he said the same thing that you were about to say.
Why did they arrow her but dart everyone else?
And I had the explanation, because if you're a native tribe, wouldn't you arm just one person with a bow and everybody else with a bunch of blow darts?
Yeah, you know what? I should have thought of that.
I love it too, because Alejandro is just kind of like holding her. It's her lifeless body, the corpse of what was. And then she takes another arrow to the head.
So that one guy with the one arrow is like, you know what? Let's just finish her off.
Like, this girl needs a second arrow while Alejandro gets plugged by a dart.
Oh.
And then one of the key points of the movie is where Daniel actually finds their GPS.
Yes.
And then he's like, hey guys, I got the GPS! And then bam, dart.
Yeah, and so the GPS is now left at the plane site.
And Justine at this point is just running through the jungle.
Yes.
She's like, I need to get out of here. Dart.
Dart, yes.
Justine wakes up on this rowboat.
Oh.
The only reason I'm pointing this out because this scene scared the shit out of me the first time I saw this, when this movie came out. So she wakes up on a rowboat, and all she sees is the back of the guy rowing. And it's this guy dressed in all black.
Oh, this guy is awesome.
He is literally tormentor of the night, in my opinion. One of the scariest dudes I've ever seen in a film. He's rowing the boat. He's all covered in all black. Not a big guy, just a creepy guy.
With a yellow face.
Slowly turns around, reveals this yellow face. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what the hell? He's got a bone running through each nostril to his ear.
Yeah.
This guy means business. He yells something in his native tongue.
Yeah.
And at this point, when I first watched this movie, I'm like, I will never sleep again.
That is one thing. Another reason why I say this is like a enjoyable movie. The natives are very good in this movie. They obviously he cast like real natives.
Yeah, so this guy that plays this role, I was researching it. He actually did a movie previously with Ryan.
Okay.
Yeah.
But some of the natives are actual natives, I remember. Yeah. And they're all very good in the movie. Like,
yeah.
I guess they're just acting natural for some of them, but they're very it's realistic. I would think that's how natives actually are.
Now Justine, she was on the boat by herself, but all of them kind of are meeting up at this one point.
Yes, correct.
And they're going to get carried to the village by the tribe. The tribe, you can see there's like hundreds of them at the shore, and they're painted a very vibrant red.
Yes.
Like a blood red.
It is such a cool contrast of all the green, and then you see this sea of red coming over the hill like towards them, and like it's awesome to look at.
Yeah, so they pull them out of the boats, these guys, and they're like marching to a drum beat. Like, dinner's here, folks.
So one thing I did notice with this scene is like the girls are all screaming, and the guys look like they have no idea where they are.
Yeah, and because it's new for them. But let me tell you, they have no idea what's coming to them, and the reason for that is because they don't realize how, I guess, comforting and generous and nurturing a tribe like this is.
Yes, no, they are very welcoming.
So they get kind of whisked into the tribe, they cook them food, and then they're off on their merry way to get back to safety.
Yep.
The end.
And that's the end of the movie. The tribe is just very helpful.
Yep.
Nope, that's not what happens at all. In fact, all of them are thrown into a cage except Jonah.
That's correct.
Now, Jonah, from the look on his face, has no idea what's going on. There's legit saliva just falling out of his mouth during this. It looks like he has been concussed from the plane crash, which obviously you would be.
He is out of it. Like, he's got drool and spittle all over his face. It's cool because when they're bringing up, I guess you don't really see him getting dragged as much. No. When they drag everybody else, I think the poster of this movie is Justine's face just getting
with all the red face,
his red hands, and they just rip hair out.
Yep.
Jonah, you don't see getting carried, but he's just out of it, and they feed him like this soup.
Yeah, they give him like it's something like some liquid.
He drinks it willingly.
Well, like I said, I honestly think he's concussed or like something from the plane crash.
He's like, soup.
Yeah. So then, this is by far the most graphic scene of the whole movie.
This movie has awesome death scenes.
Yes, except one which we'll get to.
Yeah, but besides that, they're so good.
Let's focus on this one. So they take Jonah and they hold him down. And you have no idea. Oh, this shaman lady comes out.
Yeah, I would assume that this lady's the village elder, maybe?
I assume since only her, the guy in black and yellow, are a different painted color that aren't red. So I'm assuming they're the head and the headdress of the tribe.
He does a little hunting, though, for the tribe.
Yeah, so he's like the head hunter and she's like the witch doctor shaman, I would consider.
That's fair.
Yeah. So she comes out and she's like kind of looking up the body and
basically positioned still on a rock.
Yes.
And they tie his arms down, I think.
So they just hold him down.
Oh, they hold him down.
They just hold him down.
The natives hold him down so he can't move. And he's like, okay, this is a little weird.
And then
I thank you for your hospitality and your food, but what's going on with the rock?
And then she takes out this like claw.
It's like a bone instrument.
Yeah, bone claw instrument. And she scoops his eye out with it.
Well, wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, and then she eats it.
She does. She sticks it in her mouth. She lifts it high and then just sticks it in her mouth. And this is like great. She's like, this is a delicacy for her. You can tell she's done this.
She enjoyed it so much. She then scoops out the second eye.
She was hungry.
Yeah, no. And then Jonah is screaming. Screaming so much, there's really only one solution to that. So she takes his tongue and slowly saws it
He was
all out.
making a lot of noise, Shane.
Yes.
He was bothering all the other dead carcasses on spikes.
Yes.
Seared flesh hanging off of trees.
Yes.
They were being awoken by his ghastly screams.
Yes. So clearly, now he's flailing. And what do you do to a flailing person?
You cut his arms off.
Exactly.
From the top of the shoulder blade.
And then you cut his legs off, then you cut off his head, and then you get a blood bowl because there's blood shooting out of his neck and you have to collect the blood.
Twist about this movie, the cannibals are vampires.
Yes, they are pyres. Nick Cage actually makes an appearance later on saying, I'm a vampire, I'm a vampire.
No, but she does drink the entire bowl that is literally just squirting out of where Jonah's head used to be.
Yes, yes. And then they show my favorite scene. They're salting the meat.
Yes! They're
it.
seasoning up the meat.
Yep.
They're like, we need to feed the tribe, so we definitely need to kill the fattest guy of the group.
Gordon Ramsay approved. They season the meat.
Season the meat, water the head, put they put like an apple in it or something. They put something in the head. Like they're ready for a gourmet
Like
meal
they're
here.
roasting a pig. Well, even Alejandro says, well, they'll have food for at least 2 weeks, so we have some time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's not 2 weeks until they start eating more people, but...
Justine starts her relationship with a young boy.
Yes, yes.
Obviously, he's looking downtrodden on this whole scene. He's the one tribe's member that is like, I'm not for all this. He's like, this is making me sad. So she, throughout the movie, spark up like a relationship with young boy.
Yes, by relationship, he just means like she plays the flute for him.
You took that different? You didn't take that...
Oh, this is the way you were saying it. I don't want anyone to think anything else.
She did not have a sexual relationship with young tribe boy.
He doesn't have a name. I also, throughout the whole movie, when I was talking to my brother about it, just referred to him as young boy. So I guess that's what we'll just call him. But yeah, so she plays the flute for him. He's like interested in it. The other tribes' kids like to have fun too. They like to slap the other people in the cage with snakes.
Snakes, yeah. I mean, what else are you going to do in the Peruvian Amazon? You got snakes, you got dirt.
Yeah.
And you got people to eat.
Exactly. That's pretty much it.
So while they're seasoning this meat, Amy's like, I'm not feeling so hot, you guys. I'm not feeling it right now.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden she starts farting?
She shits. I think she diarrhea shits in the corner.
It's for a little while, too.
So
I mean, like,
this is why I can't give the movie a higher rating than what I did give it. Because there's scenes like this where it's just like, this is just dumb.
it just
like,
doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, like if she's sick from seeing Jonah get eaten, wouldn't she throw up? Not like diarrhea shit in the corner?
Unless she has some kind of irritable bowel syndrome where like...
That isn't mentioned once?
No.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a nervous tension that occurs that stresses her to poop. Because, you know, that's a gut reaction people have.
Yeah.
When nervous. And maybe I'm looking too deep, those medication that got stolen from her was her IBS pills, Shane.
Oh, didn't think of that. Probably wasn't.
And that was anxiety medicine.
Yeah, most likely. Anyway, so after that, the small children also laugh.
They're laughing, they're waving their hands like, we got it, this smells up the whole entire jungle.
You're ruining our air. But anyway, so this is where Alejandro suggests his plan to get out of this is to just sit in the cage and wait.
It's a good plan. Let's sit and wait. Daniel poses, we need to escape and get that GPS. And mind you, there are natives positioned on the treetops.
Yes.
So they're kind of surrounded.
I still agree with Daniel's plan more than just to sit in the cage. But Alejandro points out that he wants to sit because more bulldozers are coming.
What?
I know. And then we find out it was all a PR stunt. In fact, Carlos funded the whole thing because he has a rival bulldozer company.
Like we couldn't predict the shady sponsor that has no reason to fund this except for he has good intentions and believes in their righteous cause.
Yes. So Alejandro wanted his group to get recognized. Carlos wanted his bulldozer group to do that. So they came with this plan that it'll make the activists look good and it'll get his friend, the bulldozer company, hired. And it's like, if Alejandro couldn't be any worse of a person, he is now worse of a person.
It's not a big deal. The world is not so black and white. Bad things happen. It starts listing conspiracy theories, like, out of the blue. Like, where did this come from? Like, Alejandro, what are you doing?
Yeah,
You're ruining this fucking movie, dude. Starts talking about 9/11.
I forgot about that.
Well, he does mention some of these interesting.
He does.
Other the plane potentially being sabotaged with Carlos in it.
Well, that's actually believable, because if the bulldozer company knows that Carlos is the owner of another bulldozer company, they probably did want to take him out. I could buy into that.
Yeah, but it's still a little bit of a stretch.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And so Alejandro's like, we're going to give this at least 3 days, kids, for those other bulldozers to come.
Yeah, like, the tribe isn't going to eat one of them, each day.
So now our rescuers are going to be the very people we protested against.
Yeah, that's, it is what it is. But then, the tribe's people come in, and they take out the girls.
So it's Amy, Sam, and
Justine.
They take them out of the pig cages. Obviously, at this point, everybody hates Alejandro, and they are like everybody versus Alejandro right now.
Yes.
So he doesn't really care what goes on.
No.
But they whisk them away to the middle of the village.
Yes. And this is where we have as I put down, the vagina check. Because...
That's fair.
Because I really didn't know what else to call this. So basically, the shaman woman now takes that bone thing that she just had gouged out Jonah's eyes with, and she kind of, like, puts it up and in, I guess, are they seeing if they're virgins? Or, like, I'm assuming that's what they're...
Yeah, they are.
Right?
They're testing if they're pure, if they're virgins.
Right. So Amy and Samantha are not, and then Justine starts bleeding down her leg once it goes in.
I don't know if this is, like, a prep for, like, the genital mutilation.
That's what I believe it is.
So it's interesting how that she's the one it's getting taken to, especially because she's the one that had such an interest in fighting it.
It's the irony of the movie. She was interested in stopping it, but now it's going to happen to her.
This movie is the definition of cruel irony.
Yes. So they throw the other two girls back in the cage, and they just keep Justine. Now, you don't know what happens, but then they put Justine back in the cage, and now she has this, like, new, like, makeup on. It's, like, the white circle with the red dot in the center, and she has, like, a couple of them on her face.
Also, while they were doing that, they lather her forehead with their own blood.
They do that. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
I probably wanted to block that part out.
Yeah, so virgin blood on her forehead. And if this is a process for FGM, in case nobody knows what FGM is, it's not pretty. They basically take a lengthy, sharp blade, do a little cutting, and then a girl, if they survive that, if they don't get any infection, have to sit and wait for like 40 days.
Sounds like a blast.
Yeah, so Justine is in for it.
Yes. So at this point, once Justine's back in the cage, I believe it's Samantha tries to escape and instantly gets darted. She does then escape.
Well, first of all, they're looking for a plan.
Yes.
Plan of escape. Daniel's like, all right, I got a plan. Lars, come here. Take this ringing cell phone and chuck it into the jungle.
That's it.
This will distract the guards, so they'll look for that. And then this is when she makes a beeline for the jungle. She's running. She sees a small, tiny boat without oars and jumps into it. And then scene goes black.
Yes. So then we pick up from, I guess, the next day, and the natives bring the prisoners food. They're going to eat the food. The one girl, Amy, I believe, is like, I can't eat this. It's not vegan.
Yeah.
And I'm like...
Because it's like pork rinds or something.
And I was like, of course, that line had to be thrown in the movie. But anyway, she starts eating it, and that's when you see at the bottom of the bowl is Samantha's skin. Yeah. Because you see the tattoo.
You see the tattoos, and then they flash the tattoo. We don't know what that is.
Yes. That is like, okay, I'm not that stupid. I know she had a tattoo. She had like 16 of them. And then you'll know she had 16 of them because the tribespeople have her skin, and they're trying on the tattoos.
They're like wearing her skin.
Yes. And then Amy instantly cuts her throat.
Yeah, she's like has like a bowl with the meat in it, cracks it, takes a piece of it,
and just slits her throat.
And I mean, like literally, she must have cut this thing to Timbuktu because her whole like freaking half her neck is missing.
Yeah, it just
gushes blood.
Yeah, it is crazy, and that's when they come up with the plan. The plan of all plans: shove the bag of weed down dead Amy's throat. So when they cook her, the tribespeople will get high.
I'll be honest, the plan's discouraged from Alejandro. He's like, you guys and your Nickelodeon plan, your Scooby-Doo plan.
Yes.
He's like, these guys, these natives, they get high every day. And I guess you could kind of guess that. I mean, I wouldn't know, but maybe they do have like a lot of herbs and things that they take to get them elevated, or high. And this would not work on them. They'd be, I guess, tolerant towards it.
Yeah.
But they try it regardless.
Yes, but before they do that, so Alejandro hates this plan so much, he starts jerking off in the corner.
Oh.
I couldn't just go to it without bringing this up.
No, this is very important. So he's become such a hated character.
He has become such an unrealistic movie character
that's true.
He's jerking off in the corner. And so Daniel starts choking him, and he starts jerking off harder.
Yeah, he keeps going, man. Like, and he needs to. He recommends everybody to start.
That's the thing. He's like, you need a good release.
You're in a really bad situation. Mm-hmm. You need to really relieve your stress. Yeah. And there's no better way to do it than just, really cracking one off in the middle of the Amazon.
Yep.
Where everybody can see you do it. In the corner of your cage, everyone's on one side, you're on the other.
This scene,
the development of his character, you need him as the saboteur, but the extent to which they do this is folly.
Yes. So this scene and the diarrhea scene are the two scenes that just shouldn't have been in this movie. They're so crazily dumb that it takes away from an otherwise decently developing story. So let's get away from that, because now the natives see that they're fighting, and that's when they find that Amy is dead, that's when they take away Amy's body.
Yeah, and they're starting to eat her, and then the tribe does
get high. They get extremely high.
So high.
They get so high that the guards on top fall out of the trees.
Yeah.
So then Daniel, Lars, and Justine are like, all right, let's make a run for it. Alejandro's like, I'm going to sit in the cage. So
it's like, you guys are idiots in your Scooby-Doo plan.
So Justine, Daniel get out. Lars is coming. Alejandro stabs him. And he's like, I ain't staying here by myself.
You're coming back down, buddy, because they ain't eating me. They're eating you.
Yeah. But somehow Lars ends up on the outside of the cage.
Well, they probably pull him out. They're high, dude.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. That's a good point.
He wakes up, and he sees two guards, and they're blasted.
Yeah. And they're like, petting him at first, and then they're like, grab his hand, and they look like they're gonna eat, and he's like, oh no, they have the munchies!
Yeah, he thinks it's a big joke.
Yeah, like, I wouldn't be joking about that, because then this turns into a zombie film, and they eat him alive. Yeah. The entire tribe.
Yeah, the two guys start picking at him, they drag him, and like Shane mentioned, everybody congregates to him, and just starts eating him on the spot. They're so high, they're so incredibly high and hungry, they were ripping off his skin, human flesh, raw, in their mouth, start ripping out his intestines.
Yeah, the kid runs away with the leg.
Yeah, they're playing jump rope with his intestines, just ripping them out of his body, putting them in their mouths, and you just see a little tribes kid just take a leg away.
A leg.
So they ate this thing clean off and ate the bone.
Yeah, like, the weed made them super strong. So, now that he's dead, we then go back to Justine and Daniel, who are escaping. And they're at the river, and they see the smoke from the plane. So they're getting close. And then something happens.
So, in order for them to get to where they have to go, Justine has to make a jump over a rock.
Yes, and this is what I was referring to.
Smokes. She jumps maybe 2 centimeters into the river. Like, she doesn't even try to jump.
And also, she jumps into the deepest water I've ever seen, because she goes down. She
jumps and is completely submerged. But Daniel's like, has his outstretched hand, and she literally does like a little hop step and completely submerges herself. She doesn't even try to jump.
No.
She doesn't take a back step and like give it a
lunge.
Was
she definitely didn't play college sports.
You have to try incredibly hard to be that athletic.
Yes. It's true. It's very true. You do see her. She's floating down the river, and Daniel has to go and save her. We actually read that she almost drowned filming this scene.
Yeah. So this movie's got incredible trivia behind it that we'll get into later, I'm sure. But one of the biggest things is the star of the movie, Lorenza Izzo, actually almost drowned in this scene. She gets carried away by the river, and she wasn't spotted until a crew member saw her. I was like, hey guys, I hear some screaming.
Yeah.
And they kept some of that footage in the movie.
Yeah.
Even though this is such a short scene.
It's a shame she almost drowned, because that scene shouldn't exist anyway.
Yeah.
So after that, they want to then go to the plane to get the phone.
The idea is to get the GPS, make sure that the battery still works, and you can get out of there. That's their ticket out. At least that was Daniel's plan. And as they approach the plane, they see Pikes.
Yes.
And you see
Carlos, the woman that shouldn't have been there because her seat flew out miles before the plane crashed, and Kara.
Yes, they're on Pikes. It's very reminiscent of the Pike scene from...
Yes, Cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah. So this is the idea. One of them probably has a cell phone, and that's what they're looking for. While Daniel's looking for the GPS in the thing, he finds it. GPS is out of batteries, of course. Shocker. But they do hear it ringing in one of their pockets.
Yes.
Kara, I believe, is the one that Justine plucks it out of. It's ringing. As she goes to, answer it or take it, it's
the cannibals show back up.
Cannibals are there, and they, dart her and dart Daniel as well, and they whisk them back.
Yep.
It was a good attempt, but...
So then, once we get back to there, Daniel is tied up to a pole, and Justine is being prepared for the genital mutilation.
The amount of lathering in this scene is quite astonishing.
Yeah, no, they put this, coating on, then, all this white cream. They put this red across her eyes.
Sauce me up, dude. I want to be lathered like that.
Maybe. Probably not. Her situation's not good, but Daniel's is even worse, because while he is tied up, the guy in all the black has his giant bone, sword.
This thing is ridiculous, by the way.
And he is swinging at Daniel like he's Ken Griffey Jr. at a home run derby.
This is what he was using to cut Jonah's big body parts off.
Yes.
Clean through the bone. This is probably the sharpest thing I've ever seen in a movie.
And now he is just breaking all of Daniel's bones with it.
And he's just feeling it. He's screaming at the top of his lungs.
So then he lathers, the more lathering.
I could not believe the amount of lathering.
He lathers Daniel in this green cream. And that's when we get my least favorite death. And I'm not going to fault it too much because everything else is so well done with the death scenes. But these horribly CGI'd ants come up and just start biting Daniel.
I want to chalk this up to a product of them being high because it's the only thing I can make sense. Because at this point, wouldn't you consider that a waste of meat?
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. But
I don't think you could eat him anymore with the bugs all over him.
No. I mean, they're probably in him because there's a lot of ants that go on his body.
Yeah.
And that's why it just looks so bad. Very, very, very bad.
All throughout this movie, too, the little boy, I mentioned, there's scenes where he's depicted, playing her flute and playing with her. This is another scene where they quickly show him playing with her flute necklace. So he does like Justine. They are having a relationship, and you kind of come to believe that this could be a help for her. You don't know how a little boy can help in this situation.
Yeah.
But that's the hope. One of the hopes for her, at least.
Yes. So, Daniel's got ants. Justine's all lathered up. And now the ritual is about to happen because she's about to go in. And that's when one of the natives comes running in with the severed head of a bulldozer man.
Yeah, a construction worker's head. So this point in time, you realize, okay, now it's been enough time. Now we know that they're going to start wrecking this part of the village.
Yes.
This is Carlos's construction team that was set to come and take that job.
Yes. So then a lot of the natives grab their spears. The guy in the black paint hypes them up. He says whatever he says in native. And then a bunch of them leave. They go to fight the bulldozer, the construction people.
Yeah.
And this is when young boy cuts Justine out, right?
Cuts her loose, dude.
Yep.
And then there's other people. There's another woman near her. So she kind of fakes being tied up. I'm still tied up. And then she breathes the sleep powder into her face.
Yes. And
then pulls out her...
Yeah, she pulls out the bone nose.
So if you're in a tribe, you have to have a bone through your nose. It's kind of like a law.
Yes.
So she just takes that bone nose and just...
rips it out.
Rips out that thing from her nose. So she goes down.
Okay. So then Justine instantly runs to Daniel. And Daniel is alive, but he's like, seriously, kill me.
Seriously swollen.
Yeah. And so Justine's like, no, I can save you. And Daniel's like, kill me.
He's like...
Please. So young boy's like, he blows the sleep powder into Daniel, and then Mercy kills him.
Mercy kill.
Yeah. Because young boy at least put Daniel to sleep so he wouldn't feel the rest of the pain when he It's
like, so everybody has the native mentality. They're all cannibals. And even he's got to be a cannibal. He's got to eat something.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
He's eating berries all day. He might be, but I doubt it. I don't know where he got, the ideology of being different.
Probably, he probably just liked flutes.
Maybe he just she never even played the flute for him though. She did, but I mean before she met him.
Oh yeah,
how would he hear the sound of a flute?
That's a good point.
Unless they have some kind of
I'm sure they have some
hand
musical
flute or something.
Yeah, they have something like that. This is also when I established young boy was probably my favorite character throughout the movie.
Okay,
he was the hero. He was. Then Justine's like, all right, it's time to get out of here. She walks past the cage. Alejandro's like, get me out.
He's like, yeah,
right. He's like, on my plan. I don't have to sit here anymore.
He's like, this is a good jest. No, let's get me out of here.
She's just like, peace. Leaves him.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, so the boy kind of shows her the way out of the village, into the clearing. She gives him the flute necklace as kind of like a keepsake to remember him for getting her out, letting her, get free, and as a sign of goodwill.
Yeah, that's what I would assume. It's very nice of her. Then the tribes people are fighting the militia. Mm-hmm. The militia are absolutely mowing them down because
they're just slaughtering them, like just gunning them down.
Yeah, because if you have rifles and you're going up against Bonesaw, yeah, the rifles are gonna take you out pretty quickly.
That's true. And she's like, at this point, this scene's happening, and she's also trying to escape. She walks by like a panther or something, like some kind of a tiger.
Yes.
And I guess this tiger is some kind of a sacred animal or something, because they don't want to mess with this thing.
Yeah.
The natives. When they get to this part, they're like, you know what? You're good. We're not going to gun you down.
And the tiger doesn't even go near her. The tiger's like, she's had enough. Yeah. And the tiger goes back to sleep. So then Justine gets to the fight where the militia and the natives are, and the guy in the all black gets killed.
He grabs her by the leg. He's wounded. I don't know if he thinks that she's going to help him. Obviously, why the freak would she?
But she doesn't get the opportunity to, because the militia shoots him. Yeah. And that's when she's like, American. And then she starts filming them with a phone that's broken.
Yeah, she films with a broken phone. It's funny because the guy, the militia man that sees her, is able to recognize her from the protest because he was there earlier.
Mm-hmm. But for some reason, it's established, at least in the lore of this movie, that if militia see a cell phone, they're going to stop doing what they're doing. So when they see her cell phone, they're like, shit, not this again. So they stop. They don't do anything. They grab her. And then he sees the phone is broken. So if he wanted to, he could have just shot her there because like she was never recording.
Correct.
But he doesn't. He brings her home.
Yeah. And I'm going to be honest with you, I hated the ending of the movie. I really did.
Oh,
I really didn't like it.
Now, which part are we talking? Because there's a lot of things that happen here that are kind of disappointing. The first being, she on camera says the tribes people are the greatest people in the world, and they helped her.
Yeah, so she lies. There's like, I guess, a committee, some kind of meeting with the
UN.
The UN.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming.
Her father's there, and she's kind of retelling her story.
She's on camera telling them about what happened.
Holy smoke! So she lies about everything.
Everything. Because she says the tribes people found them and saved them from, like, the militia, essentially?
Yeah.
Which, I mean...
Look, the militia is bad.
Yes.
Clearly, they are gunning down the tribes people to level the land for them to get the job.
And you could look at it, the tribes people are eating them because they're just being territorial and trying to save their land.
Yeah.
But the tribes people aren't great either.
No, there's no... And I thought about this. You're right. They could be territorial, but the reason why they're not is nobody kills people that happily, gladly.
Yeah.
It was almost ritualistic. They were bringing people in, drumming to them, like ceremoniously ripping out their intestines, eating them. It just seemed like they've done this, and they've done this for a long time. If you were going to go to war...
Well, they've definitely been doing it a long time because, like we said earlier, when they first get to the tribe, there's heads on pikes, there's bodies, like, everywhere. So it's something they've been doing. The only logic I make out of this is she doesn't want to rat out the tribe because of young boy. Yeah. Because he helped her. She doesn't want him to get bulldozed now.
I agree with that. But that's still no justification of the truth of what really went on.
Yes,
because then you're gonna make a mess, and you're gonna get some other people hurt. You're gonna get some other people in trouble. Mm-hmm. She lies about the whole sequence of events to the UN. Yeah, and then she's in her dorm room.
Oh yeah, I hate this part.
She wakes up because she hears a protest outside her dorm room, similar to how Alejandro kind of had one in the beginning as well. And there's another protest going. Yeah, the first one, of course, in the beginning is about janitors and their health care, and that janitors are not trash, apparently. Yes. A sign said.
Oh my god.
This one's different.
Oh, you didn't mention, though, before she woke up, her dream. She's walking through...
I didn't care to mention because it's so stupid.
She's walking through the corridor of a college, and then Alejandro's behind her, and he's like, "Hey, Justine, I made it!" And she turns around, and she gets, like, vampire teeth and bites his neck.
So dumb.
And I'm like, wait, what? I'm like...
No,
wouldn't Alejandro be the cannibal, like, as a...
No, it's brilliant.
Be the jump scare?
I realize it's
not
brilliant.
Her eating Alejandro? Like, that's...
It's full circle because he's a cannibal vampire.
Yeah, okay. You're right. You're right. Yeah, I can't argue that. And that's it.
Well, yeah, that's it. The movie. That's pretty much how the movie ends. She sees another protest about to happen. Credits roll, and then there's some scenes after,
which is even stupider than the dream sequence.
So guess what? Alejandro's sister is looking for Alejandro,
and she's like, "I got Where the hell did she get this satellite info? Does Alejandro's sister work for NASA? Like,
so he's a missing person. This is kind of like maybe an homage to Cannibal Holocaust."
So, anyway, the camera zooms in, and Alejandro's just looking up. And my one question is, how? I guess you can say, even though she left him in the cage, he could have just climbed out the top of the cage like every other person in the movie did.
He had to wait. He was very set on waiting.
I don't know. But that is the last scene. Alejandro staring at the satellite.
Yeah. And so apparently there's no sequel that I've heard of or anything.
No, there hasn't been, and I don't think there's going to be.
Before we get into our review of the film...
Well, this was essentially a giant review of the film, but now just a quick, our last thoughts of the film.
So, we mentioned some trivia before about her almost getting drowned, but there's some interesting facts about this movie. The tribe that was located there, never seen a movie before.
Yes, okay.
They didn't know what a movie was. Eli Roth wanted to cast a few of them, but before they could be in the movie, they needed to see what a movie actually looked like on screen and everything. So he showed them Cannibal Holocaust.
Appropriate. I mean, I guess natives are method actors.
Yeah, yeah. And they thought it was a comedy.
Okay.
They thought it was funny. Like, this is what the Americanos think of us.
Yeah, all right. I mean, they probably eat animals the way they do in that movie, so I'm sure they're like, this hits close to home.
Yeah. So Eli Roth, this is what you want to turn us into? Fine, let's do it.
Let's do it.
So they agreed to do it, pretty much.
Pretty much
the whole tribe.
Like I said, the tribe was really good in the movie. So.
And the funny thing was, the tribe actually offered their production designer
a child.
Yeah,
I actually heard about that.
A 2-year-old.
The production designer declined.
Politely declined. Yeah. He's like, no, respectfully.
I'm good.
You keep the kid.
Yeah, you keep young boy.
We'll do this. You be in our movie. You keep the kid.
Yeah.
And now I guess we'll get into our review of the film. Shane, you kick us off.
Okay. So, my overall thoughts on this film are, it's not a great film. It's not a bad film. I put it right on my scale. I gave it a 6. It has some redeeming qualities. I like the cinematography, all the filming of the forest and the jungle and the water and the colors with the tribe. All that's very well done. The gore effects are really good. The Jonah death, the Lars death, everything except the Daniel death, which is now some of the negative parts. The Daniel death is terrible. Kara getting hit with bow and arrows while everyone else gets hit by a blow dart is stupid. The poop in the corner is stupid. Alejandro jerking off in the corner is absolutely hilarious, but should not be in this movie.
Yeah, so making him like a sub-villain was a smart idea. Making him insane was ridiculous.
Yes, absolutely. And that's an Eli Roth kind of thing. He has these cool ideas, and the gore effects are always good, but for the most part, his characters suck. Other than Jonah, who seemed like the general nice guy who gets murdered as soon as they get into the tribe. Really, Justine's the only one that's interesting, and Young Boy because he's the hero. But yeah, it's things like that. It's why I can't push this movie to a 7 and 8 as a horror film. So I'm gonna it's honestly probably a 5.5. But since on IMDb you couldn't do that, I think it's a 6 overall. You'll enjoy watching it. It's interesting. It'll hold your interest. If you like good gore effects, they're there. But overall, the characters aren't that great, and the CGI was terrible in that one scene. Yeah. Now, what do you think?
So I'm with you, and pretty much for everything that you said. I don't even have to kind of touch on those things. Mm-hmm. So I'll speak on some other stuff. I also gave this movie a 6. This has 7 potential if the characters were not so poorly developed.
Yes,
with their relationships forgotten or thinly veiled throughout the entire film. Mm-hmm. There was nothing to build upon. Characters got Alejandro got just nuts out of nowhere, out of the blue. Obviously, he was gonna have his heel turn.
Yeah,
but there's something about being a bad guy and then being absolutely insane.
Unrealistic.
Making no sense to the movie itself.
Yeah.
With that being said, and for all the reasons that you've mentioned, I give this movie a 6 out of 10. Why I like the film, there's a lot to like. This movie is different from other horror movies because it gives people a presence of the fear of the unknown. Like Hostel in a way, where you're going to a foreign rather untraversed area. And it plays on people's sense of acceptance. Will we be adored? Will we be taken in by this other, tribe? Obviously, they had a plan of protest, and they really never meant to actually see the tribe.
Yeah.
But because they were there, Eli Roth is like, well, the audience is going to be like, wow, I'm actually scared, from myself. Like, what will this happen if I'm in a similar situation? It gives you that sense of people are very different.
Yeah.
There's very different. There's differences in every culture, their values, their customs. Will we be accepted? And I think that really comes into play in this movie quite well. We've seen this in other movies too. Not so much, Cannibal Tribe movies, but cult movies as well. You could say like Midsummer or like Invitation. Any movie with like people with a different ideology.
Yeah.
Where the cultures clash like immediately.
Yeah. That's a good way to compare it to. I mean, Invitation and Midsummer are both much better movies, but I get what you're saying with the comparison there.
Yeah, so any difference in like ideology or clash of culture could make someone feel scared, and that's what this movie presents. Also, I want to touch on Justine's duality of emotions, especially at the end. So she's kind of fighting the idea of like, do I want to go on this protest or not?
Yeah.
How deep do I want to go? Clearly, she wants to make a name for herself. That's what I'm getting from this movie. She wants to give up on playing the flute and make a name for herself.
She wants to like do something that she feels is important to society.
Yeah, but like this is what I mean. It's very thinly laid out throughout the film. You only see like signs of her, and it's always like a big action. It's never like clearly developed.
Gotcha.
There's like definitely a void there, and I think the ending is kind of the staple of just like, wow, this is so sudden. Like, where did this come from? You really slept on developing her character throughout the movie.
Well, her character is pretty impulsive. She goes from not being part of the group to being part of the group and traveling with them to Peru in like a day. Yeah. She has her impulsive.
So for me, at least, her perspective is put into question.
Well, I guess you could look at it that way. Try to make sense of it. Otherwise, it's
she's willing to get her point across at the expense of lying and really sacrificing and sabotaging their entire idea of going over there, their entire plan.
Yeah.
Or she wanted to take credit for it all for herself.
That's possible too.
She's the only one that survived.
Yeah. Regardless, it's not that important because, I mean, like I said, Eli Roth's characters, they don't get that into it. I almost think you thought about it more than Eli Roth did.
No,
which is a good thing.
I thought about this movie deeply.
It's more than I did. I just kind of went in, watched it, and I was like, all right, that was enjoyable for me.
No, yeah, for sure. No, you can do that. You can go in there, you can watch this movie because it's very entertaining. There's a lot of good death scenes. There's a lot of gore. Pretty much captures all elements of a horror movie you want to see. There's a real sense of terror with this movie, for sure. As you watch it more and more, you're like, okay, well, this movie's not really that scary. But the first time I watched it, I forgot. I was in Pennsylvania. I was watching it with my mom and my cousin in our hotel room. And my mom actually had to walk out on the movie.
Yeah.
Like, she was physically sick from it.
Well, yeah, it gets pretty gross. But, yeah, I guess that's pretty much all we could say about The Green Inferno.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about a movie that's a 6. I guess that's the best way to put it. What are we going to review next? Any idea for the people listening?
No.
All right.
Absolutely not.
We have some ideas. We've been tossing around. We've been thinking about doing maybe Truth or Dare. We've considered doing maybe Drag Me to Hell. So something along those lines probably. Probably still stick within a movie that's come out within the last 7 years. 8 years probably, I would say.
Yeah, that's fair to say. Maybe we'll throw some polls.
Yeah. Yes, we could do that soon. We are making our Twitter page, so we will be announcing that shortly, probably.
Yeah. You want to take a guess at what it's going to be named?
It's probably going to be named Two Guys, One Necronomicon.
Yeah, probably. We'll see.
We will let you know on episode 3 once we get all of that settled.
Yeah. So, Shane, at the end of this, would you like to join a protest with me?
Of course.
Let's pick our cause out of a hat and shoot for it.
All right, sounds good. Where's the hat?
I don't know. Let's ask Alejandro. Seems to work for him.
Well, that means we are going to be held at gunpoint while he films. Mm-hmm. Sounds like my kind of protest. Yeah. Well, with that said, I hope everyone listening enjoyed this episode. We will be releasing episodes every single Monday. Probably sometime in the morning around 7 a.m.-ish.
Crack of dawn, bitch.
Okay, very aggressive. Hopefully you enjoy this, and tune in next time. I'm Shane Smith, and sitting next to me is Bryan LaGrasta, and I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Two Guys, One Necronomicon.
And now it's time for Shane to lather me up with that green cream. Yay!
Oh...